I've been in the fitness industry helping women for 8 years, and I can confidently say that 99% of women who's trying to grow their glutes fall into one of these two traps. Number one, they're focused on the wrong exercises. And the second, they're overdoing the right ones. Either way, they'll end up stuck and frustrated. So in this video, I'll break down the only 3 exercises you actually need to build full, round, 3D-shaped glutes. But I won't stop there. I'll also explain the biggest mistakes to avoid, the smartest training strategies, and give you all the extra exercise options so you can tailor it to what works best for you. Now you can finally stop wasting time on the stuff that doesn't get you results. You see, almost every woman I've had consultations with just randomly walks into the gym, does 3 to 4 sets of hip thrust and squats, throw in some banded workouts, and hopes that's all it takes to build their glutes. Surprisingly, I don't know where this myth came from, but some even believe that more reps equals more results. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth, and I'll explain why in a second. If you want to target a specific muscle group and structure your training for maximum efficiency, you need to first understand the anatomy of the muscle you're trying to build. When it comes to glutes, as you may already know, there are 3 main muscles that creates that round shape, also known as glute complex. And these are the 3 main glute muscles that you need to know about. Number 1, gluteus maximus. This is the largest glute muscle and the one responsible for the size and the overall mass of your glutes. Second, gluteus medius. As you can see on the screen, this muscle sits on the outer side of your pelvic bone. Because of this exact anatomical position, strengthening it will help you fill out the outer side of your glutes, giving them that round 3D look from all the different angles. The last and the final one is gluteus minimus. This one doesn't contribute much to the visual appearance of your glutes, but it plays a major role in stability. Arguably, it is just as important or even more important than the other 2 glute muscles, because without a strong gluteus medius, you will lack stability. And if you lack stability, it will be really hard for you to perform the movements necessary for you to grow the other 2 glute muscles. Now that you understand the basics, let's go a bit deeper. When you target the upper fibers of gluteus maximus, that's where you build that top shelf look, also known as upper glutes. Vice versa, when you target the lower fibers, you're developing lower glutes, and building that creates a separation from the hamstrings and adds more roundness to the lower part of your glutes. That being said, now I'm going to give you the top 3 exercises to target each of these 3 glute muscles, so you can finally build 3D round glutes. But just as a preface, what I'm about to explain includes more advanced strategies, and it is just a tip of an iceberg. This is not for you if you are just starting out. This is specifically for those who train consistently, have been in the gym for a while, but are stuck in the same hamster wheel, trying everything under the sun, and yet, despite all your efforts, the results are nowhere to be found. Now, before that, here is something important to consider. Even if I gave you the top 3 exercises, the intensity you need to perform will vary person to person, because every single one of you either have a weak or underdeveloped glute muscles based on your previous workout history, genetics, posture, or day-to-day lifestyle. For some, that might be the upper glutes, and for others, it might be the lower glutes. And for some of you, the focus should be on gluteus medius. The real breakthrough happens when you identify which muscle is lagging and then adjust your volume and frequency specifically to build that muscle up. That is exactly why I can't give you a one-word answer or a cookie-cutter solution in this video. But this is exactly why we help women inside our one-on-one private coaching program called Metabolic Rebuild Method 5-Phase Body Transformation. While generic glute workouts or cookie-cutter plans you see online may give you some results in the beginning, the only real way to achieve the jaw-dropping transformation is by identifying your weak points and building a plan that is tailored for you and your body. Now, respectfully, we don't work with beginners who are looking for a quick fix, 90-day cookie cutter programs or even any shortcuts. And we don't work with people we know that we can't help. That's exactly why we have an application process in place. Because transformations that last a lifetime are more than just a 4-month sprint of losing 20 pounds. The systems and processes we give our clients are so individualized that it won't make sense if you're still chasing shortcuts. They'd actually go against your current reality of what it takes to truly change your body for the rest of your life. So if you fall into that category of someone who's tried spinning your wheels and not seeing results despite of all your hard work, scroll down and fill out the application using the first link in the description. If you qualify, we'll book a roadmap call to design a plan specifically for you. That being said, these are the only 3 exercises you need to build round 3D shaped glutes, one for each major glute muscle. The best exercise to target the upper fibers of gluteus maximus and the ones that adds volume and give you that well-known top shelf is calf glute bridge. Now this exercise looks super similar to your regular hip thrust where you lower your hips all the way down to the floor. Don't get me wrong, that exercise is a phenomenal glute builder. But in calf glute bridge, instead of dropping your hips all the way down, you only go down until your knees or shins starts to rock backwards. Why? Because that limited range will keep constant tension on your glutes. And since the entire movement is loaded against the gravity, it's perfect for keeping the tension on your glutes and maximizing muscle growth. Since I'm not there training you in person, here is the step-by-step checklist to make sure you're doing it right every single time. Here is the checklist for the setup. Place your upper back on a bench, feet flat on the floor, hip width apart. Adjust your feet so your shins are vertical at the top of the movement, about 90-degree knee angle. Keep your core tight and ribs down to avoid arching your lower back. Now, here's the checklist for the actual movement. Push through your heels and drive your hips up until your body forms a straight line from shoulders to knees. Then squeeze your glutes super hard at the top. Now, here's a key part. Lower only until your knees or shins begin to rock back. And do not touch the floor, but while you're in the mid-air, hold there for 1 second and repeat the same. Now, here's a little pro tip. When you place your legs, push your knees slightly outwards to keep constant tension on your glutes and to keep them activated throughout the movement. Now let's talk about the exercises that focus on the lower fibers of the gluteus maximus. This is what gives you that distinct separation from your hamstrings and glutes, creating that round shape at the bottom. The best exercise for that, you guessed it, cable kickbacks. Sure, you can do the regular version, but I know you're here for the cheat codes. Instead of doing them the usual way where you stand closer to the cable with a slight forward lean, here's what you can do. Take 2 steps back from the cable machine and position your upper body parallel to the ground. And if you ask me why, because it gives you more range of motion. In this way, when your leg is in front, you have more space to maximize the stretch. And when you finally kick back into hip extension, you are working more against the gravity with greater resistance, which forces your glutes to produce more output in the lower fibers for the same efforts. That being said, here's the checklist for the setup. Take 2 steps back from the cable machine so your torso is parallel to the ground. Hold the cable machine or handle for support and keep your core tight and the back flat. Before starting, maintain a neutral spine and engage your core to avoid arching your lower back. Now here's the checklist for the movement part. Start with your working leg slightly bent in front of you to feel a great stretch on your glutes and hamstrings. And then extend your leg straight back, driving through your heels and squeezing the shit out of your glutes at the top. Return with control, resisting gravity as your leg starts to come forward. Throughout the movement, just make sure you keep your hips stable and avoid rotating your pelvis. Always, always use your glutes to fight against gravity. Now that we have covered the volume, upper glutes and lower glutes, it's time to talk about gluteus medius, which is key for building side shape and fullness to your glutes. To target that, it is as simple as this. Instead of doing your kickbacks backward like you did for the lower part of your glutes, here you'll be doing them sideways. and this is called side cable kickbacks. To simplify, any exercises where your leg moves sideways will target the gluteus medius. But in this exercise, applying the same theory as before, in this one, you have more range of motion. More range of motion means you can lift your legs higher. In that way, you're forced to apply more resistance against gravity as you lower your leg, which in return works in your favor. That being said, here's a checklist for the setup. Stand sideways to the cable machine and your working leg closer to the anchor point. Take 1 or 2 steps away from the cable machine to create tension in the cable. Then slightly hinge your upper body forward to create more stability and balance. As a pro tip, keep your core tight, spine neutral to avoid leaning forward or rotating your hips. Now here's the checklist for the movement. Begin with your working legs slightly across your body to get maximum stretch on your outer glutes, also known as gluteus medius. And then lift your legs out to the side and slightly back. When you reach the top of the movement, squeeze your glutes as hard as you possibly can while adding an intentional pause on the top. Then after that, slowly return your legs to the starting position. And the keyword here is slowly, because the slower you go, the better you can maintain tension. So as a recap, cast glute bridge to build volume and target the upper glutes, standing cable kickbacks for the lower part of your glutes, and finally side cable kickbacks to add shape and to add fullness to the side of your glutes. That being said, as you already know, if you want to keep growing your glutes, you need to progressively overload these exercises, meaning you need to constantly increase the weight and get stronger. And that is not possible if you don't have a strong gluteus minimus. If you remember what I mentioned earlier, the gluteus minimus doesn't directly impact on the visual appearance of your glutes, but it is super essential for stability, and that is crucial for performance and injury prevention. Now the question becomes, how can you make your gluteus minimus stronger? And the answer is simple: unilateral movements, meaning exercises that challenges your balance, focusing on one side at a time. For example, reverse lunges, walking lunges, single leg press. But when it comes to unilateral movements, there is no better exercise than a heavy Bulgarian split squats. And if you want to take it one step further, you can add plates underneath your foot to increase the depth of the exercise, which helps you increase the range of motion even more. That being said, as promised, here's the checklist for the Bulgarian split squats. For the setup, bench height is around knee level, and then stand about 2 or 2.5 feet in front of the bench. Then place your back foot on top of the bench, and the front foot should be far enough that when you go down, your knee stays parallel to your toes. Now, for the execution, keep your chest up, core tight. In simple terms, belly full of air, lower straight down and not forward. Keep your front heel grounded throughout the movement, and when you come up, push through your front heels and push yourself back up. Also, make sure you take it slow, meaning no bouncing up and down. To make it even simple and easy to remember, movements involve in hip flexion and extension. For example, squats, deadlifts, hip thrusts targets the gluteus maximus, which contributes to the overall volume of your glutes. Movements involve in hip abduction, for example, single leg cable side kickbacks or seated abductions, work the gluteus medius, contributing to that fuller look and side shape. Unilateral or stability challenging movements like Bulgarian split squats, single leg RDLs, step ups engage the gluteus minimus, which acts as a stabilizer. These are the top 3 advanced exercises that I would recommend, as they typically provide the best results for our clients. But if you want more glute workouts tailored to your fitness levels, also with detailed description to make sure you don't choose the wrong ones, you can scroll down below this video, download the Glute Builder cheat sheet and use it for yourself. Now, as a general rule of thumb, it is better to keep the exercises at the lower end of the rep range, meaning fewer than 8 to 10 reps. Now, before you burn the place down, there is absolutely nothing wrong with higher rep ranges. But to keep it simple, more than the rep count, all your focus should be on increasing volume, meaning getting stronger and lifting heavier. When you keep it to the lower end of the rep range, not only it is easier to generate tension in your target muscle, but you also don't create as much systematic fatigue. Higher rep count can make you tired and leave your lungs gasping for air, all before you reach in your maximum capacity. Now, talking about the form, this is one of the most important aspects you need to keep in mind. Your goal should always be to train in a full range of motion, meaning maximizing the stretch part where you feel that deep stretch in your muscles, and maximizing the contraction part where you squeeze the muscle to the fullest. Because when you train through a full contraction and a full stretch, your muscles recruit more motor units, also known as more muscle fibers, compared to doing half reps. For example, the muscle fibers you activate at a stretched portion of an exercise, like the bottom of the squats or Bulgarian split squats, are totally different than the ones get activated in a shorter range of motion. But that's not it. Since I love you guys, let me give you some extra insights. Even if you're already doing it in full range of motion, the more you focus on the stretched part, the faster you will progress. Let me tell you why. Muscles grow the best when they are loaded under a lengthened position, also known as stretch position. So, if you can intentionally add a pause at the bottom of the movement or slowing it down when you feel that deep stretch, that alone can change the game. For example, slowing down as you bring the weight down during a squat and adding an intentional pause before pushing yourself back up, or slowing down as you lower yourself in the Bulgarian split squats and adding a little pause before firing yourself back up. That right there will give you exponential returns. So when you focus on lifting heavy while doing full range of motion, that's where you're training with efficiency and getting more out for the efforts you're putting in. Now, the ideal frequency to train your glutes will be 2 to 3 days a week. If you're applying these strategies, what I've explained, you don't need more than that. So that being said, if you want help in identifying your weak points and want us to create a custom plan according to your goals and your lifestyle, so you can finally make that transformation eyes closed and stress-free, scroll down below this video and fill out the short application. And just so you know, we don't work with women we don't believe that we can genuinely help. That is exactly why after your application, we have a roadmap call in place to make sure this is a good fit. If you find that offensive, keep watching the free content, and all I care about is you got the value from this video. And if you did, that puts a smile on my face. That being said, keep crushing, go implement these strategies, and just know that I'm rooting for you.